Katie, we're back with the second most boring real estate podcast in Portland. Only second to the one I do with Krista. So that means you're less boring.
I feel like that's fair.
That's fair.
Sorry, Krista.
We're going to talk about just quick highlights of what's happening in the Portland market, even though Chris and I did a long version of that. We're going to do quick highlights. We're going to talk about some market segments today. We're going to throw in a new thing, which is notable sale. And then we're going to talk about mortgage applications. Sorry, I'm choking. I'm glad this is recorded because you'll be able to see your face, what you just did. She makes that face in the office all the time, too. So do you want to highlight us, just give us the year-to-date summary for the Portland metro area?
Let's see. You give us the year-to-date summary because I feel like I'm on the wrong page here.
Okay. So just really quickly, here's what's important to know. New listings have decreased 21.4% from the same time year over year last year. Pending sales are down 24.2%. Closed sales are down 28.5%. I mean, if we really look between what's happened with new listings and closed sales, that's a pretty significant difference. You know, there's a 7% difference in between those. So we have a big shortage of new listings coming to the market, but we have even less buyers. That's home affordability, right? When we look at comparing 2023 to 2022 through August, the average sales price has decreased 3% in the Portland metro area from $619,200 to $600,500. So some people that are just like, hey, I want pricing to come down, or, you know, sometimes you talk to people and you go, what would a deal on a house be? And they just want a $25,000, maybe $50,000 discount on a property. Where here's the reality. If you were looking in 2022, on average, values have just declined about 20 grand. And there are some homes where you might be able to negotiate that balance. So that's just a quick recap. If you want a longer analysis of the market, go watch the first most boring real estate podcast that I did with Krista.
Yeah. One thing you mentioned that kind of made me perk up a little bit, you said everybody's looking for a deal right now. And I think the next best question you can ask those people is, what is a deal? What is a deal to you?
One of my favorite questions.
Yeah. What does that mean? Do you want $25,000 off? Do you want $30,000 off? What does that look like? And that came up with some clients I was working with this week. And I'm a big believer in running the numbers, checking the statistics. And they just didn't really want to move forward because we just could not get the sellers to come down right away. And I was like, let's wait a second. Like, this seems like a good opportunity. Let me look at the average sales price for comparable homes built around the same time in this area. Lo and behold, it was listed below the average for comparable properties. So is that a deal? I would say yes, but it depends who you're talking to.
Yeah, I agree. You know, when the market was really hot, which we'll probably get back to at some point, right? There's hot cycles of the market. There's slow cycles. We're in a slow cycle of the market. You know, I remember asking this question to one of my clients. I'm like, you know, how would you define a deal? And he basically described it as he needed to get 2 or 3% off the list price. But on average, homes in that area were selling at 103% of list price. So full price actually was a deal. The average home was selling 3% above. Most people weren't going to accept his offer first weekend on the market under full price. But we were able to get a full price offer accepted. Long story short, they're really happy they got the home. It's been a great home for them. And statistically, they did get a deal. But to Katie's point, you know, if you are a deal shopper in the market, what is a deal and what are you basing that against? You know, Katie and I, we both just talked about a list price to sales price ratio or other comparable homes. A deal isn't just some figment of our imaginations, 10% off list price or 15% off list price. You know, if the market's paying 103% of list price, well, 100% is a deal. What are the metrics, right? How do we define what that is? And I would also go, hey, if there's 3-4 properties you like, would you take your fourth choice because it was the best deal? Or would you still
Mm-hmm.
want the first house? Is the deal really the most important thing? Or is it the quality of the home and buying it at a fair price? Because everything feels like a deal a decade later.
Totally. And I had the conversation with same clients later. Okay, you sent me house A, that's at little higher list price, and house B, that's 10 years older, and the furnace is old, it doesn't have a cooling system, and the roof needs to be repaired. It's listed $10,000 less, but how much do those repairs add up to? Like, is the value really there? You have to look at all of those things.
Yeah.
You have to look under the hood of the car, so to speak, and find out what you're really buying.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Okay, so let's talk about something else which we've never talked about on this, which is, we talk about market segments or price bands, because when we say that year over year the average sales price has dropped in the Portland metro area by 3%, that doesn't mean every price point. That doesn't mean every area. Not every house rises and falls at the same level. There isn't like some magic calculator in the sky that just does this with homes. So we're going to talk about price segments and price bands. And if we look at the hottest part of the market, the hottest meaning where the most sales are occurring. In the Portland metro area right now, people might be surprised to know that it's between $400,000 and $500,000. Average sales price, remember, is at $600,000. In that price band, last month, in the month of August, there were 485 sales, and that represented 23% of the entire market. Now, how does that compare to 2022? It's basically the same.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all, because I've been in the trenches in that price point with buyers, especially if you're detached in the Portland metro area around 500,000. You're competing with other maybe first-time buyers, flippers, investors,
Downsizers.
downsizers. Same thing, especially if it's like a one-story home right around 500,000 and it's priced right, it looks good, or somebody can see the potential in it. You're going to be in a multiple offer situation again.
Yeah. And, we always talk about the average sales price and below of a market is the hottest part of the market. And that's the metro area. That's anywhere in the suburban areas you go to. That'll be the same if we go out to Yamhill County into more of a country setting. When you're buying below the average sales price, it's usually a hotter market. The second hottest market segment between 500,000 and 600,000, there were 444 sales. That was 20% of the market. Now that is really different from 2022. Overall in 2022, that was about 12% of the market. So values are falling. The average sales prices come down a little bit, but that market segment has gotten a little bit hotter, right? We're seeing more sales pick up there. Now, if we do some quick math, we're at 43% of the total market. Now, if we drop down below 300,000 to 400,000, now we're probably looking at a lot of condos, townhouses in the metro area, probably predominantly condos and townhouses. There were 247 sales, which made up 11.4% of the market. So now we're at, 54% of the market. If we look at that 11% segment, in 2022, it was 31% of the market. So we're seeing those more affordably priced homes, those markets, what we've been seeing over years in Portland is we've been seeing them disappear. As a percentage of the homes being purchased, we're seeing, even though it's a hot part of the market, as a percentage, we're seeing less of them.
Yeah, I mean, to state the obvious here, borrowing money is expensive right now. So I don't have a mortgage calculator in front of me, but a home that might have cost you $3,000 a month a few years ago could be massively more expensive right now. And those monthly payments are just not palatable for people right now. And I understand, like, you and I talk about a lot of times, it's like, what percentage of your annual income are you going to be spending on your mortgage? And it's just, it really is unbelievable now sometimes.
Yeah. If you're a home,
two average incomes aren't going to get you the house that our parents were able to buy in the 80s. It's just not the same story anymore.
if you are a potential home seller, you have to look at what would someone pay on my home. They put 20% down, which not everyone puts 20% down, by the way. This could be a favorable outcome. But if someone put 20% down at a prevailing mortgage interest rate, right now call it 7% mortgage interest rate, with taxes and insurance, what's that monthly payment multiplied by 12, and really look at it and think about it. Because you might think your house is worth that dollar amount, and it might be, but you have to ask the question, how many Oregonians can afford this mortgage payment? So this is, I'm gonna bump this in here real quick. We're not gonna spend a lot of time on it, but this is from the Mortgage Bankers Association. It says both purchase and refinance applications fell, with the purchase index hitting a 20-year 8 low as prospective buyers remain on the sidelines due to low housing inventory and elevated mortgage rates. And that's from the Mortgage Bankers Association's chief economist. So that's a statement from him.
Yeah.
Home affordability, we don't, as an industry, we're not talking about it enough. I think more so than low housing starts in this market, the market we're in today, more so than low inventory, new homes coming to the market, the biggest challenge we actually face is affordability. That's going to be an even bigger challenge when we get affordability back, either in rates or home prices, because either rates coming down or pressure on home prices is going to create affordability. One of those two things is going to adjust at one point or another. What we're seeing in the Portland housing market right now is we are seeing some downward pressure on pricing, albeit it's very slow because of the low inventory. Let me make one more comment about a market price point, and then we'll talk about our notable sale that we pulled out of here. If we look at the market between 1 million and above, so that could be 1 million to 10,500,000, which we're going to talk about in a second. That actually in the month of October represented 7.8% of the closed sales. In 2022, as a whole, it was 2.63% of the market. So that above a million mark also fared really well. But if you watched this conversation Kate and I had a couple weeks ago, there's certain price points where there are a lot of homes for sale in the luxury market and not a lot of buyers. But there are more luxury buyers buying statistically. Either that or it just so happens August was a fluke month. I guess we'll see when we review this in September.
Yeah, I think where I'm in the MLS every day. That's our realtor system looking for homes. I'm looking at different areas and different price bands, and where I keep seeing the same houses pop up is almost in that like sub luxury price point, like right under. That's been a challenging market, and I think that goes to your previous point of how much of somebody's annual income can they afford to put in their mortgage. A lot of those people are not cash buyers, they're borrowing, and it's expensive to borrow money right now. So that's been challenging. When you get into that more luxury category, you may see more cash buyers. And so that's why they're able to purchase those luxury homes. I'd have to look at what percent are cash buyers, but that seems to be what I am seeing when I'm logging on to the MLS every day and seeing some of the same homes pop up over and over.
To your point, when I was looking down, I was looking at something, and that is that sub luxury market you were talking about, let's call between 900 and a million, so we can use a metric.
Right there.
In August, there were 73 sold properties in that price point. On our website, as of right now, in that price point, Portland metro area, there are 247 homes listed for sale. So, you're getting pretty close to 3 homes on the market in that price point for every closing.
Yeah, that's nuts. And I was having a conversation with an agent in a different market in Oregon, and we were just talking about how imperative pricing is right now. And the way he put it is, when you're selecting a list price in this market, you want to pick something that's palatable for buyers, but almost a little uncomfortable for sellers. And those are the homes that we're seeing move. When you price kind of on the higher end and quote unquote wait to see what happens, that's where I think sellers are running into issues because, as you talk about, the longer a home sits on the market, people start to wonder what's wrong with it.
Yeah. I've always described it, it's like having a black eye at a beauty pageant. You might
Yeah.
be really pretty, you might come in second or third place, but it's hard to win.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
people do just start looking at you sideways. And we're in a market now where a lot of people actually do lead with what's wrong with the home, right? If it's been on the
Mm-hmm.
market for a while, they don't look at it as a perceived opportunity. They might not even recognize what's really happening in the market because there's so many of our peers still talking about how hot the market is. The reality of the market that we're in right now, the reality of the state of Oregon and affordability is not every home in that let's call it mid luxury or right
Yeah.
before luxury market, pre luxury market. It's not all going to be absorbed when you just look at the average income of the people in our communities. And, that's what Jerome Powell is trying to create, right? He's trying to create housing affordability and bring inflation down. He no longer calls home appreciation. He's calling it inflation. In the reports, it's referred to as inflation. And we talk about these things because they're important, right? It doesn't mean you can't have an outlier experience in the market. It doesn't mean you can't navigate it in a different direction based on what you have. But you have to know this information so you can make a plan and try to go win. I'm going to pull up my Instagram real quick so I have these numbers. When we look year to date in the Portland metro area, total number of homes that have come for sale, 21,710.
Mm-hmm.
Total number of pending sales, 15,705. Here's the reality. 21,710 people that listed their homes for sale thought they were going to sell.
Mm-hmm.
Thus far, 15,705 have gone pending. There's a big difference. And some of those people are scratching their head wondering why their home hasn't sold. Some are coming up with magic reasons why it didn't. It's not the right time, right? And it might not be the right time for them. But they all thought they were going to achieve some result. Most people in this market are just testing the market to see what they can get. And these things are important to know when you're creating a strategy to enter into a market that has less certainty for a home buyer, has less certainty for a seller. So let's talk about something positive and awesome real quick.
Okay.
I need to get one of those boards that have buttons that make noises, or it could be like a da 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 or something like that for
We're just keeping it real. This is just real.
like a notable.
Hey, if you talk to a lender or an agent who tells you it's always a good time to buy and it's always a good time to sell, be real with me. Shoot it to me straight because I can tell you they're not being honest.
Well, and here's the thing: if you ask that question, the person who answered that question better ask you a lot of questions before they get to
Yes, it's such an individualized scenario. Everybody's different. It depends what's going on in your life.
Back to the music, the notable sale.
Okay.
So Randy Sebastian, who's a builder of Renaissance Homes, we're friends on Facebook. If you've been on our channel, we have a whole bunch of home tours of homes he's built. Randy's awesome. Local home builder, builds a lot of homes, builds a really beautiful, beautiful home. In 2021, he bought a lot on the lake in Lake Oswego for $2.6 million. If I remember correctly, he was talking about it was the most expensive teardown at that point ever purchased on the lake. That home just sold pre-coming to the market. There was a lot of marketing going on by Renaissance's in-house real estate company. 5,162 square feet, new build, pool, off South Shore, low bank on Oswego Lake, $10,500,000. So, some of these shows we do, like Katie said earlier, we got to show the sellers some love, right? Like we seem like maybe we're being a little pessimistic on the market. And we always throw in, right? Like not every market's the same. Not every market segment is the same. This is a record sale. This is a sale over $2,000 a square foot. And let that sink in if you're a Portlander. Because when I started selling real estate in 2007. Then the market dropped. I remember at some points in 2010, 11, we'd be like $100 a foot. This is expensive. 125 bucks a foot, 200 a foot, 300 a foot. Luxury homes, 800 a foot, 1,000 a foot, $2,000 a square foot. I mean, that buyer is showing a lot of confidence in the housing market, as they should, because Oswego Lake is special. This is a special home. This is a trophy property. It's a gem. It's a humongous investment, but it's a humongous win for home sellers in the luxury market. It's a huge win.
Yeah, and I think for me anyway, I hear Randy's name and Renaissance a lot. He's trusted, he's reputable around here. So buyers have a lot of confidence in the product that they're purchasing. And I
Yeah.
think that plays into it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Every builder, if you're a new home buyer, builders have stigmas attached to them, right? I mean, they just do. And I used to live in, or actually still do live in, like what used to be a really large local home builder, and I remember their reputation. And before that, I lived in another house. It was like a production home, local home builder, and they had their reputation, both good and bad, right? Because everyone has opinions on both sides. But Renaissance does have a brand, right?
Yeah.
And they are synonymous with a much better and more high quality product. And look, I just think that this is a really good thing for home sellers. This is a really good
Yeah.
thing if you're someone who is going, man, this market's so tough, I can't have success. Now, here's the cool thing too. This isn't like an outlier. We just talked about in this luxury market, it's 7.8% of the market in August. Like that's a lot, or it's a high percentage of the sales. The low end of the market's moving. The high end of the market is moving. That in the middle piece, unfortunately, is the really challenging piece. If you're a home seller and you own a townhouse, you've outgrown it, right? Maybe another kid's on the way. Maybe you're sick of stairs because you're in a townhouse. I used to live in a townhouse where you open the door and it was like, set of stairs up, set of stairs up, right? Like it had a landing, so it didn't feel like as much of a hike. But maybe you're sick of that and you wanted to get into something different, or you want something with a yard. Those townhouse type products or a 1,500 square foot ranch, people are getting really great values on those. And when they're buying up into that pre-luxury market, that is a market where a lot of people have the opportunity to negotiate right now. Not on everything, not on everything, but there are lots of opportunities.
And to just one tangent that I want to go on, you mentioned townhomes. Townhomes may be a great option if you're a first-time buyer, especially right now. And the reasons I feel strongly about that is because a lot of times you're not taking on exterior maintenance, and so you're not taking on the full kind of burden and workload that comes with home ownership. Yes, you'll probably have an HOA, but it's a nice segue into becoming a homeowner. And a lot of times you can get a little better product, a higher quality product than you would buying a detached home for the same price.
Yeah. And I can speak to that too from a personal perspective. I just turned 40. Pretty sure I bought my first house I don't know how old I was. I was in my early 20s. My first house being a townhouse. I think it was 2005 or 2006, before the market went down, and we bought a townhome. And we bought a townhome because of the condition, because of the location, because we didn't have to deal with exterior maintenance. We bought it knowing it would be a stepping stone property to get into the next house because it was what we could afford and we wanted to be able to focus on our careers. We bought it. Actually, we bought and sold it for the same price. And we lived there for 5 years because we went into a real estate recession and values went down. The reality is that home still is what enabled us to get into the next home, because instead of paying rent, we were paying down the mortgage. And when we sold that property at the same price we bought it for, even after paying a commission and technically selling it at a loss, the money we had saved in principal pay down is what enabled us to have a down payment for our next home.
And to the buyers who come to me and say, we're not considering attached housing, I would say, well, why? You might be able to get a yard. You might be able to get some great parks nearby. You might get to know your neighbors more. There may be more pluses than minuses. So I would just encourage buyers to maybe not rule them out. They might be the new first time home. Maybe not the American dream you had in your head with the white picket fence, but they could be a great option.
Yeah, I agree. And I think what I would tell any home buyer is you have to be open-minded to the process and the product, the type of housing you're going to look at.
Mm-hmm.
Because until you go in, until you walk through, until you consider your options, you just don't know. Early in my career, it's harder to do now, but it can still be done a little bit. I had this day that I'd call garbage day with buyers, and I called
Yeah.
it garbage day because I wanted them to know, like, most of what we're going to look at is just going to be in one ear out the other. It's like we're going to go
Mm-hmm.
learn that day, but like consider all the houses, like mostly ones we're not going to buy, right? That's going to be it. And here
Mm-hmm.
was the thing about garbage day: you give me a list of 5 homes that you think fit your needs. You're going to have already given me a list of what you like and what you don't like. I'm going to put 5 together that don't quite fit your needs, that I just think are good options. And we're going to go look. I want to confirm that you don't want a split level. So many people are like, I would never buy a split level. Man, I sold a lot of split level houses,
I
right?
have I have a nostalgia for a split level. That's where I played in my friends' houses with the split level. We were always in that daylight basement.
Totally. Well, so many
Good
people
stuff.
love mid-century homes, and mid-century
Yeah.
homes, they cost a lot of money, especially like real daylight basement ones. But there's some really cool era split levels that with a little bit of work can really feel like a cool
So good.
mid-century modern
Yeah.
home. But you have to go look. So if you're a buyer, just being open-minded to the product type, I think is really important. But
Hmm.
let's just do a quick recap, right? The housing market's been trending in the way that we thought it would be trending this year. It's not as easy if you're a seller. If you're a buyer, there's more options, but unfortunately, it's not as easy for you either because of interest rates, right? It is easier for you because you have more options. This is what we expected. Certain parts of the market are hot. Man, that $400,000 to $600,000 point of the market, that is a hot market. If you're
Hmm.
listed at 615 and you're not selling, if you go down to 595,
599. Yeah.
yeah, you're just going to enter into that place where eyeballs are. That's a little bit hotter. Hey, if you're a buyer in that like 800 to $1 million range, looking right now, last month there were 173 sales in that price point. We just told you between 900 and a million, there's like 250 houses for sale. You're a luxury seller, a luxury buyer. Guess what? There's a lot of buyers in that marketplace. I was in a multiple offer situation on a $1.6 million house last month. This all would have been considered in with this property, or actually two. So that market is a little bit hotter. Congrats to Renaissance Homes. Congrats to the buyers of that home and the halls for representing the buyer. I mean, what a cool sale and what a great story for a market that's has some challenges, and what a great way to demonstrate that not every market price point, not every neighborhood, not everything's the same. Things are variable. We talk a lot about averages on our content. We want to have a personal conversation with you. What does this mean to you and your home? Right? 2011, 2010, banks are going out of business. I'm helping people short sell their houses. It is hard market, way harder than today. We're still getting multiple offer situations on great properties. Great property price well, multiple offer situations. Right? In every market that happens. Any closing thoughts from you, Katie?
Yeah, I think you nailed it when you said this is a very nuanced market. This is not there's no like one size fits all analysis for this market. In our previous market, put the house on the MLS, you're going to get multiple offers. And that was the story for almost every price band.
Yeah.
Now, when buyers say they have their eye on a property, I'm like, send it my way. Let's look at the private remarks in the MLS. Let's see what information I can gather. Let's see if it's been on for more than a month. Okay, now we can play ball. It's all very different, and you just have to treat every situation differently to be able to get your desired result.
Yeah.
And be
Agreed.
flexible, be open-minded.
Agreed. So, hey, if you're thinking about buying or selling now in the future, I've been doing this now since 2007. I don't think I'm ever going to have another job. Maybe I want to draw smiley faces on receipts at Costco in
Could be like a
retirement.
professional jujitsu wrestler. I don't know.
No, I went twice yesterday and I'm hurting from it. But if you want to see more content like this, make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. If you want just like a no pressure, no bullshit analysis of what's going on in the market as it pertains to you, we're happy
We
to
like
give
to
you
talk about this stuff.
yeah, we're happy to give you our opinion. And our goal is just to find clients that are a good match for us. And when does someone become a client? It's not when you transact, it's when we're willing to think about each other for a real estate relationship. So you can email us at hello@hillshirerealtygroup.com, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.